Think back to your last pay rise. Where did it go? You can't say. Almost nobody can. Every pay rise comes with a second bill. You just never see it. 2 apartments, 1 Sydney block, stacked. Same floor plan, same rent. Upstairs is Dave on $120,000 and treading water. Downstairs is Sam on $65,000 and fine for a year without working. Roughly half the income, 15 times as much in the bank, which is kind of mad. 3 things to remember. 1, they both get fired on the same day. Only one of them cries, and it's Dave, the one on nearly double the money. 2, everything Dave owns has a second price tag, bigger than the one on the receipt. 3, Sam isn't more disciplined, not stronger, not trying harder. Sam found a loophole, and I didn't believe it. Let's start upstairs, at Dave's. A 75-inch telly on the wall, a leather lounge that cost $3,500, a kitchen full of machines, air fryer, stand mixer, a coffee machine with a milk wand nobody has cleaned since March. There's a juicer in there somewhere, used once. Washing it took longer than drinking the juice. Every one of those machines got used 2 or 3 times. They all live at the back of the cupboards now, trophies from a life that was meant to feel better than this one. The wardrobe is full. The spare room is full. There's a storage unit across town that's also full. And Dave has $2,900 saved. That's less than a fortnight from a real crisis on $120,000 a year. Now, go 1 floor down to Sam's. Same floor plan. The first thing you notice isn't a thing at all. It's space. A normal couch. A telly that's honestly a bit small. 1 good knife. A cast iron pan. A $30 drip filter that's worked for 6 years. The wardrobe has clothes in it. Not a collection. Clothes. The spare room is a bedroom. And Sam has 14 months of living costs sitting in the bank. Put them both at the same barbecue and you'd swear Dave was doing better, because Dave looks like he's doing better. That's the trap. The stuff you can see is money that's already gone. The money that actually keeps you safe is invisible. Here are the numbers, if you want them. Sam spends about $3,100 a month. 14 months of that is $43,400. Dave has $2,900. So the person on roughly half the income has about 15 times the savings. And Dave isn't reckless. Dave doesn't gamble. No addiction, no disaster, no single stupid decision you could point at. Dave just slowly built a life that needs every dollar to keep it upright. And now that life is in charge. It decides which jobs Dave can take. It decides how much risk he can carry. It decides whether Dave is ever allowed to say no. If that sounds unusual, it isn't. In 2023, more than 1 in 4 Australian households ran into a cash flow problem. Something came up that they couldn't cover. The Bureau of Statistics reported that, and the number went up from the year before. This is the bit that took me ages to work out. Sam isn't more disciplined than Dave. Sam isn't stronger. Sam found a loophole. So what is this second price tag? Everything you own charges you twice. The first charge is the one you see, the number on the receipt. It leaves your account once, you feel it once, and your brain files it as done. It isn't done. It's barely started. The second charge turns up quietly, every month, for as long as you own the thing. And for a lot of what you own, that second charge is bigger than the first. It comes in 4 parts. Space. Because everything you own has to live somewhere, and nowhere is free. Upkeep. Because everything you own is slowly falling apart. Attention. Because everything you own is one more thing your brain has to carry. And growth, because the money you spent could have been growing instead. Nobody adds those 4 up. Each one is too small to bother with on its own, which is exactly why they cost you so much. Now, those 4 are just what owning things costs. Nobody invented them to get you, but there is an industry that worked all of this out and built something on top of it. Start with space, because space is the one people flatly refuse to believe. About 9 in every 100 Australian adults are paying for a storage unit right now, not while they move house, permanently. A survey in 2022 put the average bill at $163. That's every month, and that figure is old now. Even on that old figure, that's $1,956 a year. Now put that same $163 a month into an index fund instead. Let it grow at 8% a year. After 20 years, you'd have $96,000. 8% is an assumption, not a promise. I want to be straight with you about that, but sit with that for a second. $96,000 just to store things, not to buy them. You already paid for them. This is what you pay, so you never have to decide what to throw out. And storage is the cheap version. That's only the stuff that wouldn't fit at home. The most expensive thing in your house isn't a thing at all. It's the room you don't use. Half the apartments in Sydney now rent for more than $750 a week. That's a record, set in March. It hasn't moved since because renters have run out of room to pay anymore. $750 a week is $39,000 a year. Say the spare room is a quarter of your floor space. That's rough, so adjust it for your own place. A quarter of $39,000 is $9,750 a year. All to house a treadmill, a box of cables, a guitar you stopped playing in 2021. Nobody sends you that bill. You pay it every single week anyway, buried inside your rent. You can price the upkeep yourself. Rego, insurance, a service, new tyres. Go and add up your own. It takes about 9 minutes and it'll ruin your afternoon. Attention is the one nobody prices because it never shows up on a statement. Every object you own takes a small slice of your head. It has to be stored, cleaned, charged, and one day thrown out. You've stood in a full room and felt tired for no reason you could name. That isn't laziness. That's the running cost of everything in it. One promise before I go on. I'm going to tell you to buy something before this video ends. Exactly one thing. It costs more than you'll want to spend, and it's the best money in this whole video. But first, the 4th charge. Growth. That's the one that actually built the gap between Dave and Sam. Every dollar locked up in stuff is a dollar that isn't earning you anything. Take the phone in your hand. Say you replace it every 2 years, and it costs $1,400. That's $58 a month forever, for the rest of your working life. Now say you keep it 4 years instead. Same phone, same $1,400. $29 a month. The difference is $29 a month. Not a sacrifice, not a budget. Nothing about your life changes. You don't even feel it. Put that $29 a month into an index fund at 8% for 30 years. $43,000. $43,000 for keeping a phone that already worked. And that's one item. Just one. Now run the same sum on the car, the couch, the telly, the watch. That's the gap. It was never a salary gap. It was 1,000 small decisions that each felt completely reasonable on the day. Everything so far has been me taking things off you. Time to give you something back. Before you buy anything, guess how many times you'll actually use it. Not hope. Actually use it. Then divide the price by that number. An air fryer costs $180. Use it 4 times, then shelve it. That's $45 a go. Use that same air fryer twice a week for 3 years. 58 cents. Same machine, same price. Two completely different purchases. So the answer was never just spend less. A $120 jacket worn 3 times costs $40 a wear. A $400 jacket worn 200 times costs $2. The expensive jacket is 20 times cheaper. That isn't a trick. That's division. And now the thing I promised I'd tell you to buy. Buy a good mattress. $2,400 sounds obscene. Then you divide it across 10 years of nights. 66 cents a night for the 8 hours that decide what the other 16 feel like. So cost per use doesn't tell you to stop spending. It tells you where to stop and where to spend properly. Dave and Sam still get fired, by the way. Neither of them knows it yet. There's a second test, and it's a harder one because it looks backwards. Walk through your house. Pick up each thing. Then ask yourself one question. Would I buy this again? Not would I miss it. Would I hand over the cash again today at full price? For most of what you own, the honest answer is no. Have a think about the cupboard above your fridge. You already know what's up there, and you already know you'd never buy it again. None of it is sitting there harmlessly. It's charging you for space, for upkeep, and for headspace, and giving you nothing back. It isn't there because you want it. It's there because throwing it out is a job, and keeping it isn't. Dave isn't surrounded by things worth keeping. Dave is surrounded by decisions nobody ever made. Now, I want to be honest about whose fault this is. I don't think it's mostly yours. You're not weak. You're being farmed. Finder put a number on this in March. 41% of Australians had used Buy Now Pay Later in the past 6 months. 4 in 10. That isn't a fringe product anymore. That's mainstream. You know the ones. 4 payments, first one today. And look at what that actually does. It takes a number that would have stopped you and cuts it into 4 numbers that won't. $800 makes you hesitate. 4 payments of $200 doesn't. Same money. The hesitation is the only thing they took away. That was the product the whole time. And that same industry did something to one word. Broken. Your phone still works. Your car still starts. Your couch still holds you up. A new model coming out didn't break any of them. It just made them feel old. That's the whole trick, and everyone around you fell for it at the same time. And there's one more thing about Dave and Sam I haven't told you. It's the part that really stings, and it's about a house. So what actually works? It isn't willpower. Willpower is a battery. It runs flat by the end of the day. And the shopping apps are open 24 hours. You don't need more discipline. You need more friction. Delete your saved card details. Every one of them. Make yourself get up, walk to your wallet, and type 16 digits. Delete the shopping apps off your phone. Put anything you don't actually need on a 48-hour hold. You're not banning it. You're just refusing to buy it tonight. Then flip it around and make saving the easy thing. Automatic transfer on payday. Out before you ever see it. Treat it like rent, not like leftovers. And then the big one, which almost nobody does. Decide what enough looks like before your income goes up. Because if you've never drawn a finish line, every pay rise just moves it. You upgrade, the upgrade becomes normal, and normal needs another pay rise to feel like progress. You can run that race for 40 years and never once get there. Sam worked out what enough looked like years ago, about $3,000 a month. When Sam's pay goes up, that number doesn't move, and the whole difference goes straight into freedom. If any of this has landed, tap like now, because the last 2 minutes are the part I most wanted to tell you. I'd rather you weren't thinking about a button. So, the day they both get fired. It's a Tuesday. The company restructures. It's nobody's fault, and it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Dave and Sam get called into the same little meeting room an hour apart. Dave goes very quiet, then starts doing sums. Rent, the car, the storage unit. 4 installment payments that all come out on the 29th. Dave spends every dollar that comes in, about $7,500 a month, against $2,900 in the bank. That's about 11 days. Not 11 days to find a better job. 11 days to find any job. So Dave takes the first thing going. Less money and a manager Dave already can't stand. Then stays 4 years because there's never a single month where leaving is affordable. Sam goes home and makes a coffee, then does the same sums and gets a completely different answer. 14 months. Sam has 14 months to be picky. That isn't a spreadsheet. That's a completely different life. It was decided years earlier by somebody who kept a working phone and never rented a storage unit. And here's the part that should annoy you. Sam is the one who ends up buying a house, not Dave. Dave earns nearly double and will still be renting at 45 years old. The deposit did get earned. It just got spent, slowly, on things that are now in a cupboard. That's what the money was always for, not the balance itself. What the balance lets you do. Walk out of a job that's making you sick. Take 3 months off when someone in your family gets crook. Say no. Every time you buy something, you're making a trade. Not money for stuff. You're trading away a bit of your freedom to choose. Most of the time, that trade is fine. A home in a good spot. Food that keeps you well. A car that starts. Take those and don't think twice. But the 4th streaming service, the upgraded phone, the jacket that does the same job as the jacket already in your wardrobe. Ask whether those are worth a piece of your freedom. They get very easy to say no to. And now the loophole I promised you. Sam isn't white-knuckling it. Sam isn't saying no all day with gritted teeth. Because most buying was never about the thing, it's about a feeling. A quick hit of feeling safe, or important, or in control. Once the money is actually there, that feeling gets fed by the bank balance instead. And the wanting quietly stops. That's the loophole. It was never really about discipline. You only need discipline right at the beginning. After that, it becomes a wheel. Spend less, save more. Save more, feel safe. Feel safe, want less. Want less, save more. And every turn makes the next one easier. Dave is on that same wheel. It's just spinning the other way. You're not behind. You've just been keeping score on the wrong thing. So go home tonight and pick up one thing you wouldn't buy again. Just one. Start there. Want to know what happens after that? You start investing the gap, and given enough time, your shares can cover the grocery shop. That's the next video, and it's on screen now.